Imagine for a second that
Mhm.
you were just walking through this completely empty, unpopulated ravine.
Somewhere like, Montana, maybe?
Yeah, exactly, like Montana.
Yeah.
And you're a student, maybe 16 or 17 years old,
Okay.
and you spot this strange, uncatalogued weed just growing near a creek bed.
Right.
So you collect a sample, you scan it with your phone, and you upload the data. And then, like 24 hours later, this whole network of student taxonomists who are just working from their laptops across the country, they verify that you've actually found a brand new species.
Oh, wow.
Right. And it doesn't stop there. Within a month, an artificial intelligence system has helped draft an actual patent for this plant's unique medicinal properties. And your name.
That is wild.
And it provides the architectural blueprints for a completely automated solar-powered farm to harvest it. I mean, it sounds like utopian science fiction, right?
It really does. It sounds like the plot of, I don't know, a deeply optimistic solar punk novel. You know, the kind of story where technology actually saves us instead of just isolating us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking as you listen to this deep dive today. You're probably thinking, well, this sounds like an impossible utopia.
Yeah, totally.
Because I thought the exact same thing when I first read the source document for today's topic. But we aren't looking at fiction today.
No, we are not.
We are exploring this highly detailed, staggeringly ambitious educational framework called the Universal System of Knowledge.
Which is just a massive title.
It is. It was created by Jesus Gonzalez Bedoya for a platform known as DocuPlay. And our mission today is to really just unpack this entire blueprint.
Right, because, I mean, whether you view it as a logistical miracle or just a wildly idealistic dream, its goal is to literally improve the world.
Yes, through internet-powered learning for all people
At any age.
throughout their entire lives. It's incredible.
What's most striking about the source material, I think, is its absolute refusal to accept the prevailing narrative of doom,
Right.
regarding our technological future.
Oh, 100%.
Because we are currently just surrounded by conversations about what we are going to lose in the coming decades.
Right, like jobs lost to automation.
Exactly. Or humanity losing its connection to nature, or algorithms boxing us into echo chambers.
It's all so heavy.
It is. But the DocuPlay framework looks at this impending digital and robotic revolution and completely flips that script.
Yeah.
It envisions a system that uses the very tools of automation to elevate human potential.
Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer scale of this project is just mind-boggling.
It really is.
We are talking about a curriculum of 50,000 systematic courses.
50,000.
Yeah, and utilizing millions of legally sourced government files. We are talking about AI avatars that literally teach you how to farm peas.
The peas. We definitely have to talk about the peas later.
Oh, we're absolutely going to get into the mechanics of the pea farming, but before we get to any of the specific subjects, the robotics or the biology, we have to look at the philosophical engine driving the whole machine.
Right, the bedrock of it all.
Because this platform isn't just trying to teach you facts. It's trying to fundamentally rewire how you perceive reality.
Yeah, and the foundational motto of the platform sets a very distinct tone right out of the gate.
It really does.
The creator explicitly states that the system is built on, quote, pro-objectivism versus a prioristic subjectivisms.
Okay, I have to admit, when I hit that phrase in the documentation, my brain just threw up a little error code.
That's completely fair. It's intense.
Yeah, like a prioristic subjectivisms.
Okay.
It sounds like a phrase designed to torture college freshmen.
It does.
For someone just sitting at their laptop trying to learn a new skill, what does that actually mean in practice?
So it is dense academic terminology, but the underlying concept is actually a direct response to a very common modern anxiety.
Okay.
Think about how we consume information today. There is this pervasive feeling, especially among young learners, that everything is subjective.
Oh, absolutely.
That every piece of information, every historical event, every scientific claim is just someone's opinion, right? Heavily colored by their personal biases or their societal constructs.
Right, everything has an angle.
Exactly. That is a prioristic subjectivism. The assumption that a priori, which means before you even look at the facts, the truth, is already obscured by perspective, making objective reality basically impossible to grasp.
It is so exhausting. You feel like you can never just learn a subject without first having to navigate an absolute minefield of hot takes
Yeah.
and political spins and cultural baggage. You spend more time analyzing the bias of the textbook than the actual subject of the textbook?
And the DocuPlay framework identifies that exact exhaustion as a massive barrier to education.
Makes sense.
So to dismantle it, the platform adopts what is known as the phenomenological method.
Okay.
They specifically anchor this in the work of Edmund Husserl, who was an early 20th century philosopher. His famous German motto was "Süden Sachen selbst," which translates simply to things themselves.
To things themselves.
Right. And the document also cites the Spanish philosopher Xavier Zubiri, who articulated the idea as leave things as they are to know them as they are.
Leave things as they are to know them as they are. There's something just incredibly relieving about that instruction.
It completely changes the cognitive load on the student.
Yeah.
The system aims to free knowledge from the omnipresent political prejudices of the right and the left. It argues that if we can train ourselves to approach material reality without prejudice, we can genuinely know the essence of things.
Wow.
The objective world exists, and it is knowable.
So it's essentially like taking off a pair of heavily tinted, polarized sunglasses.
I love that analogy.
Right. Like for years, you might have been looking at a landscape through filters, maybe cynical filters, maybe deeply political filters. And this philosophical approach is just handing you a wipe and saying, take the glasses off.
Exactly.
You stop trying to read the political subtext of the tree, and you finally just look at the vibrant, objective, pathological reality of the tree itself. It's an incredibly hopeful way to look at learning.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. And the creator of the framework doesn't just view this as an intellectual exercise, There is a profound ethical urgency to this philosophy.
How so?
Well, the document explicitly states that the paramount ethical value for this educational project is the absolute equality of all humans regarding internet opportunities.
And this ties directly into their anticipation of the AI and robotic revolution.
Precisely.
Because the sources acknowledge something that a lot of educational platforms just try to tiptoe around, which is that human work hours are going to be drastically reduced.
Yes.
The robots are, in fact, going to take over a massive amount of labor.
The document is very clear-eyed about the trajectory of the current world. It points out that without a massive intervention, we are heading toward a severe inequality gap.
Yeah.
You'll have a small minority who understands how to leverage the digital revolution and a massive global majority left entirely on the sidelines.
Which is terrifying.
It is. The framework notes the very real possibility of populations being marginalized, simply existing on a universal basic income because they have been rendered economically obsolete by automation.
But again, they completely reject the pessimism of that outcome.
Totally. They view it as an unprecedented opportunity.
Okay.
The logic of the framework is this. If we can instill this clear-eyed, objective view of reality, objectivism, and pair it with a rigorous culture of effort, we can change the outcome.
Right.
The document even mentions a religious foundation that motivates students to seek the true objective nature of the world. By offering progressively autonomous and incredibly affordable education, the goal is to prepare everyone globally to positively share whatever human work hours remain.
I really appreciate the proactive nature of that stance.
Me too.
It's not just a passive acceptance. It's not saying, well, the algorithm's won, let's just find hobbies.
Right.
It is saying the algorithms are here, so let's build an educational network powerful enough to elevate every single human mind to its maximum potential. Nobody gets sidelined on a basic income.
Exactly. Everybody becomes a capable, essential participant in managing this new automated world.
It provides profound purpose. If a student believes that the world is objectively knowable, and they are handed a system designed to give them equal access to that knowledge, their potential is no longer capped by their geographic or economic starting point.
Which is just a beautiful foundation to build on.
Okay, so I am on board with the philosophy. We have taken the tinted glasses off. We are looking at the material world as it truly is.
Right.
But once a student has this unprejudiced view of reality, what do they actually do with it?
Yeah, that's the big question.
How do they build with it? And this leads us to the first major pillar of the curriculum, and frankly, the part of the source material that required me to completely rethink my own education.
Oh, absolutely.
We are looking at Project One of the DocuPlay universe, which is the platform's bold, triumphant reinvention of mathematics.
Yeah, Project One is titled Edu Industry. And the stated goal of this project is nothing less than the reindustrialization of the world through education.
Which is a staggeringly massive goal.
Huge.
And the framework for how they plan to achieve this is incredibly specific. The sources detail 4,600 individual courses.
Wow.
And they are all structured around the Standard Industrial Classification System, or the SIC.
The use of the SIC codes is such a brilliant logistical move.
Can you explain what that is for the listener?
Sure. The Standard Industrial Classification is a system developed by the U.S. government to classify every single type of business establishment by the type of economic activity it performs.
Okay.
From dairy farming to semiconductor manufacturing, there is a code for it.
Right.
So the creator of DocuPlay didn't invent a new curriculum structure. They mapped their courses directly onto the existing blueprint of the global economy.
That is so smart. And to fuel these 4,600 industry-specific courses, they are pulling in millions of real, legally sourced files from official portals like USA.gov and Europa.eu.
Yes.
The documentation points out that they're utilizing Title 17 of the U.S. Code, specifically Section 105 regarding copyrights, as well as Creative Commons licenses in Europe, to legally integrate this massive repository of human knowledge.
They're essentially taking the raw data of Western governments and industries, the actual regulations, statistics, and procedures, and feeding it directly into the educational platform.
Right.
But as you hinted at, what's fascinating here is that the most radical shift in the Edu Industry Project isn't just the data they are using, it's their fundamental philosophical approach to the language of industry itself, which is mathematics.
This part genuinely blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because if you ask the average person on the street how they feel about math, you're going to uncover a lot of deep-seated academic trauma.
Oh, for sure.
So many people hit a wall in high school, calculus, or algebra, and they just walk away feeling fundamentally inadequate.
That trauma is incredibly widespread. And what the DocuPlay framework does is identify exactly where that anxiety comes from on a historical, philosophical level.
Okay.
The creator argues that the modern teaching of mathematics is essentially a victim of ancient philosophies, specifically calling out Pythagoreanism and its direct heir, Platonism.
Okay, let's break that down for a second. When we talk about Platonism in the context of a kid trying to pass an algebra test, what does that actually mean?
So, Platonism in this context is the belief that numbers, equations, and mathematical concepts are these mystical, pre-existing entities.
Right.
It is the idea that math exists independently of human thought, just floating out there in the fabric of the universe, and humans simply discover it.
Like an explorer discovering a new continent.
Exactly. Or an astronomer finding a new star.
Right. And if you are a student and your teacher presents math as this divine, pre-existing language of the cosmos, it makes the subject incredibly intimidating.
Absolutely.
It elevates the math way, way high above the student.
Precisely. If a student struggles to understand a Platonic mathematical concept, the psychological implication is that they are disconnected from the fundamental truth of the universe.
Wow.
They feel uniquely deficient. So the DocuPlay system proposes a radical, intensely uplifting inversion of this idea. They say mathematics is not discovered, it is invented.
Invented. Just the sound of that completely changes the dynamic.
Doesn't it? The framework defines math strictly as a tool created by human reason for a very specific purpose to measure the material world, to measure weight, to measure extension, duration, or force.
I love this concept so much. If you think about a hammer, you don't go out into the vacuum of space and, quote-unquote, discover a hammer floating among the asteroids.
Right.
You invent a hammer because you're standing in a field, you have a piece of wood, and you need to drive a nail into it. You have a practical problem, so you build a practical tool.
Exactly.
This philosophy turns every math student from a passive, intimidated observer trying to decode the mind of God into an active, empowered inventor.
The psychological shift that creates is monumental. Suddenly, the math isn't mastering the student is mastering the tool.
It's so empowering.
And to ensure this philosophy actually makes it into the curriculum, the framework gives teachers a very strict, empowering set of questions.
What are they?
Every single time a mathematical problem is posed, the instruction must begin by clarifying two things. Number one, what specific magnitude are we trying to measure? And number two, what mathematical tool have humans invented to measure it?
Hold on, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If I'm taking one of these Edu Industry courses, say I'm looking at the SIAC code for commercial construction,
Okay.
how do those two questions practically change how I learn geometry?
Well, it grounds the abstraction instantly. Instead of starting with an abstract formula on a whiteboard, the teacher says, we have a physical piece of land. We need to know how large it is before we can build. The magnitude we're dealing with is extension.
Okay.
The specific tool our ancestors invented to measure extension is called geometry. Let's pick up the tool and use it on this field.
Boom. Done. It makes complete logical sense. It completely removes the mystery.
The document reinforces this by quoting Galileo. He said, "Natural laws are written in mathematical language.
Right.
The system insists that any mathematical construction that cannot clearly answer the question, 'What magnitude is this measuring?' should simply be avoided in this context."
Really?
Yeah, it actively strips away the confusing, purely abstract, theoretical math that alienates so many learners and refocuses entirely on practical application.
It is a total demystification of the hard sciences.
And the creator specifically notes that overcoming these skeptical and nominalist philosophies will have wonderfully positive consequences on a global scale.
How so?
The document explicitly highlights the potential for rapid uplift in Hispanic countries through this method. By treating the material world as something that can be known in its essence, objectivism, and accurately measured with our invented mathematical tools, the framework envisions opening the floodgates to rapid, confident progress.
That's incredible.
It accelerates student confidence in science and technology across populations that might have previously felt excluded from the industrial conversation.
It paints this beautiful vision of a global reindustrialization fueled not by massive corporations, but by pure, confident, democratized human ingenuity.
Absolutely.
You look at the world, you pick up the math tool, and you build something useful.
Right.
But, that brings up a really crucial logistical question. Industry doesn't exist in a digital vacuum. If IDU Industry teaches millions of students to build and measure the industrial world, where do the raw materials come from?
That is the big question.
How does DocuPlay prevent this army of newly empowered industrialists from just clear-cutting the planet?
That is a critical transition, and the framework addresses it with what might be the most geographically ambitious part of the entire blueprint.
Okay.
We are moving from the industrial to the natural world. This is Project 2, biodiversity.
And the goal of Project 2 is stated so casually in the text, but the implications are staggering. The objective is to literally complete the catalog of Earth's biodiversity.
Which is an undertaking of colossal proportions.
Surely.
Because despite all our technology, we still share this planet with millions of unknown, uncatalogued species.
Right.
And the way DocuPlay plans to map them is by gamifying scientific discovery on a scale that I don't think has ever been proposed before.
It's massive.
The framework maps out approximately 2 million specific courses. And these courses aren't based on abstract concepts. They are focused specifically on unpopulated place names in the United States, categorized meticulously, county by county.
The mechanism here bridges the gap between a student staring at a screen and a student actually interacting with the physical world.
Yes, exactly.
The system calls for, quote, field researchers. It actively requires students to close their laptops, go outside, and physically enter these unpopulated areas to gather raw data across 3 categories: the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom.
And here is where we see the division of labor that mimics real-world scientific communities.
Oh, explain that.
The student out in the field isn't necessarily the one making the final scientific determination. They gather the data, photos, environmental metrics, samples, and they send that data back into the DocuPlay platform.
Where it meets another group of students.
Exactly. The data flows to the taxonomists. These are students who are specifically trained in courses 8, 9, and 10 of the framework, which correspond to the animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms, respectively.
Got it.
These taxonomists analyze the field data sent from the unpopulated counties to determine if the species in question is actually uncatalogued.
Okay, I have to interject here, because while this sounds incredible, it's essentially playing Pokemon Go, but for real-world medicinal plants in an unpopulated county. I immediately have safety and logistical concerns.
That's a very natural reaction.
Right. The framework is actively incentivizing teenagers to hike into unpopulated, potentially hazardous wilderness areas in places like Montana or Alaska to look for unknown minerals and plants. How does the document address the sheer liability of sending students into the wild?
It is a very fair logistical critique. While the provided source material focuses heavily on the pedagogical and economic mechanisms rather than the micro-level safety waivers, the underlying structure of the framework implies a highly organized local level of engagement.
Okay.
Remember, this is categorized county by county. The vision isn't necessarily dropping a kid out of a helicopter into the deep Alaskan bush.
Right.
It is about exploring the unpopulated ravines, local state park borders, and undeveloped land within their own local jurisdictions. The framework provides the structural incentive, but the execution relies on local integration.
Okay, so Assuming they navigate the local terrain safely, the data goes to the taxonomists.
Yeah.
And they aren't just cataloging these things for the sake of making a list. The document specifies that they are actively looking for species that have nutritional or medicinal value.
And this brings us to the ultimate reward mechanism, the massive positive incentive that drives the entire biodiversity engine.
This is the crazy part.
If these students, the field researcher and the taxonomist working together, discover a new species that possesses medicinal or nutritional value, the platform actively supports the process of getting that discovery patented.
This is the part where my jaw actually dropped.
I know.
An educational platform facilitating actual intellectual property law for its students. I'm struggling to see how a platform manages the legal complexities of securing a patent for a 16-year-old.
The ambition is breathtaking. The framework doesn't just say, you get a gold star. It envisions providing the technological and management scaffolding required to navigate the patent process for these new animal, plant, and mineral species. It treats the student not as a subordinate learner, but as a genuine scientific pioneer. And the vision doesn't even stop at securing the patent.
Right, because a patent is just a piece of paper unless you do something with it.
Exactly.
The sources explicitly mention creating entire franchises around these student discoveries.
The blueprint outlines the creation and management of hydrosolar plants to supply the necessary energy and water resources, alongside physical farms for breeding the newly discovered animal species, or fish farms for aquatic discoveries.
So to trace the causality here, a student takes a course on the unpopulated geography of their local county.
Right.
They go for a hike and find a unique plant. They upload the data. A student taxonomist in a different state analyzes it and confirms it's an uncatalogued species with high nutritional value.
Yes.
The DocuPlay framework helps them secure the patent. And then, using the industrial skills from the Edo industry courses, they literally franchise a hydrosolar-powered farm to grow this plant and introduce it into the global food supply.
It is the ultimate fusion of theoretical learning, physical activity, environmental stewardship, and real-world entrepreneurship. It completely shatters the artificial walls of the traditional classroom and turns the entire natural world into a laboratory of hope and economic opportunity.
And to ensure the students stay engaged throughout this potentially years-long process, the system utilizes a deeply layered gamification structure.
Gamification is the engine of engagement here. The framework outlines multi-level rankings across the platform. There are leaderboards at the federal, state, and county levels.
Like a high scoreboard.
Exactly. Rankings for the number of active field researchers in a specific county, rankings for the taxonomists who successfully catalog the most species, rankings for the sheer number of patents secured by a region.
The document even plans for physical, real-world exhibitions. Imagine the profound pride of going to a DocuPlay festival representing your state and seeing a medicinal plant on display that you personally discovered in the dirt near your hometown.
Oh, it would be incredible.
Knowing that it is now patented, being cultivated on a solar farm, and actively helping people, it is phenomenally uplifting.
It creates an army of highly motivated, philosophically grounded scientists and industrialists.
It really does.
But the creator of DocuPlay, Jesus Gonzalez Bedoya, recognizes a crucial historical truth. Pure, unbridled industrial and scientific progress without an ethical counterbalance can become dangerous.
Yeah, history has shown us time and again that just because we can build something or patent something doesn't necessarily mean we should.
Right.
Which brings us to the necessary counterbalance in the curriculum. We are moving into projects 3 and 4, humanities and social sciences.
Yes.
Now, looking at the numbers in the outline, out of the 50,000 total systematic courses, the humanities only make up about 20%.
That 20% encompasses philosophy, religion, fine arts, literature, and history. And while 1/5 might seem like a smaller slice compared to the massive footprint of the hard sciences and industrial projects, the document explicitly deems this section as absolutely vital.
Vital in what way?
It specifically calls out its necessity for the impending Gen AI era, the era of generative artificial intelligence.
Why the specific call-out for the AI era? I mean, if the robots are doing the heavy lifting and the students are busy inventing mathematical tools and patenting biology, why is it so crucial that they study 18th century poetry or ancient philosophy?
Because navigating a world defined by hyper-advanced automated technology requires uniquely human qualities that algorithms simply cannot replicate.
Okay.
The framework states that the humanities are the most effective vehicle for developing deep thinking skills, synthesis, and critical analysis. These are the exact skills required for creativity, innovation, sociability, and most importantly, governance.
Governance is the key word there. If you have a generation of students with the power to engineer biology and build automated industries, you desperately need them to have a calibrated moral compass.
Precisely. And the source material provides a brilliant epistemological distinction to explain how these subjects are taught.
What's the distinction?
Earlier, we talked about objectivism and knowing things as they are. In the hard or demonstrative sciences, like the math and natural sciences we just explored, reality is material. Because it is material, it is mathematizable. You can prove a concept with an equation.
Right. What magnitude are we measuring? What tool are we using?
But the humanities deal with immaterial realities. The sources specifically list moral, aesthetic, legal, and political values.
You can't put a ruler on those.
Exactly. You cannot put a moral value on a physical scale and weigh it. You cannot use a geometric tool to measure the exact quantity of justice contained within a new piece of legislation.
Which raises a really interesting conflict. If we can't mathematically measure justice or morality, do we just throw our hands up and say it's all subjective opinion?
Well,
Because we established in Section 1 that this platform fundamentally rejects a prioristic subjectivism. It hates the idea that everything is just relative.
it is a fascinating philosophical needle to thread, and the framework's approach is incredibly elegant. They classify the humanities as argumentative or soft sciences.
Argumentative.
The argument is that just because an immaterial reality cannot be mathematically proven does not mean it is immune to knowledge. It is simply a different type of knowledge. It is knowledge that is gradual, and it is achieved by building more or less credible logical arguments.
Give me a concrete example of that distinction.
Sure. If you ask an Edu industry student to determine the area of a solar farm, they use geometry. The answer is definitive and demonstrative.
Right.
If you ask a humanities student whether the resources from that solar farm should be distributed equally or based on labor input, you are dealing with a moral and political value. You cannot solve it with geometry.
Makes sense.
But according to the framework, you don't just rely on emotional bias either. You use the tools of philosophy and history to construct a highly credible, logical argument to arrive at the most objective truth possible regarding human fairness.
So even though the object of study is invisible, like ethics or aesthetics, the rigorous, objective approach remains the same.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is how the system ensures that the humans programming the future have the ethical grounding to manage their innovations responsibly.
Wow.
It teaches students to approach these immaterial objects in an unprejudiced way, stripping away the reactionary biases of modern politics and learning how to construct solid, deeply reasoned arguments.
And how do the social sciences fit into this epistemology? Project 4 mentions over 10,000 courses, covering heavily structured topics like the U.S. Constitution, U.S. Code, and the Dewey Decimal Classification Class 3.
The document beautifully categorizes the social or behavioral sciences as epistemologically mixed or hybrid.
Fiber.
Yeah, because these sciences study human behavior and the structures of societies, their objects of study straddle the line. They are partially demonstrative. You can absolutely measure population demographics, voting statistics, or economic output.
Right.
But they're also partially argumentative, because to understand why those statistics exist, you have to analyze the immaterial laws, morals, and historical motivations driving the human behavior.
It creates a perfectly balanced intellectual diet. You have aid industry providing the hyper-rational mathematical skills to build the infrastructure of the future.
Yep.
You have biodiversity teaching you to actively explore, respect, and integrate with the natural world. And you have the humanities and social sciences ensuring that you develop a profound, ethically balanced vision of mankind so that you wield your industrial power with wisdom.
It is the blueprint for a complete, exceptionally well-rounded citizen of the future.
But let's take a step back and look at the sheer logistics of what we have just described.
Right.
We are talking about a platform with 50,000 courses.
That's a lot.
We are talking about a student who is expected to learn the U.S. Civil Code, hike into the wilderness to patent unknown plant species, invent mathematical tools, build solar farms, and write complex philosophical arguments.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm a student logging onto this platform on day one, how do I not just drown in the magnitude of it all? This sounds like a 90-hour-a-week job, not an educational platform.
That reaction is exactly why the final piece of this framework is so critical. The ambition of the curriculum would be impossible without the technological engine driving it.
Okay, thank goodness.
This is where the digital universe of DocuPlay truly comes alive, and where the platform provides the ultimate, relentlessly positive support system. It guides the learner every single step of the way through a symphony of highly specialized AI branches.
Yes. Section 5, the AI ecosystem. The source document breaks down the artificial intelligence support into distinct, hyper-specialized personalities or functional branches.
Right.
They are all entirely focused on removing friction and preventing that exact feeling of overwhelm we just talked about. Let's start with the foundational layer, which is Generate AI.
Generate AI is the first point of contact. Its primary function is to leverage that massive, intimidating database of legal and official government files we mentioned earlier and make them instantaneously accessible and hyper-personalized for the student. When you start a course based on a dense European or US government file, Generate AI instantly provides combined, digestible summaries.
But it's not just a passive summarization tool.
Mm.
It interacts with the student in incredibly dynamic ways. I was particularly struck by the Student Task AS feature mentioned in the text.
The Student Task ES blog is a beautiful pedagogical tool. It allows the student to ask intensely personal questions about their own educational journey.
Like what?
They can query the AI, asking things like, how would you rate my performance in studying this specific course? Or, what are the most positive aspects of my study habits? Or, what specific advice can you give me to overcome the difficulties I'm having with this math concept?
It is the equivalent of having an endlessly patient, incredibly encouraging private tutor sitting next to you 24/7.
Exactly.
And to make sure the process of learning government data doesn't become dry, Generate AI is also responsible for running daily gamified sessions. The document lists DocuLigas, which are missing word games based on the source texts, and DocuGames, which are rapid-fire file title games.
It ensures that interacting with dense industrial classifications and legal codes remains an interactive, addictive challenge. The AI translates the raw data into a playground.
Okay, so Generate AI helps you absorb the material. But what if you actually want to execute an idea? What if you want to take your Edu industry knowledge and start a real business? That brings us to the second branch, Agentic AI.
Agentic AI is where the theoretical learning transitions into tangible, real-world action. This branch of the AI is designed to analyze the activities within your course and break them down into highly automated, actionable steps.
Wow.
But its true power lies in its ability to literally program specialized AI agents on behalf of the student and then market those agents directly to real-world companies based on their standard industrial classification codes.
This concept is so futuristic that we need to ground it in a specific example. The source document keeps referring to a very specific agricultural example.
Tea production.
The peas, P-E-A-S, the vegetable. Let's say I am a student taking a course map to the SIC code for legume agriculture. Walk me through exactly how this AI ecosystem helps me.
Let's trace the mechanics of it. You are a student studying pea farming. You've used Generate AI to understand the real-time statistics, the USDA soil requirements, and the official agricultural guidelines for growing peas across different regions.
Okay, so I understand the theory.
Now, Agentic AI steps in to help you execute. It helps you automate the logistical process of pea production. It can actually write the code to create an AI agent, a standalone piece of software that manages the supply chain or the irrigation schedule for a pea farm.
You're kidding.
And then Agentic AI will help you draft the marketing outreach to sell that specific software to existing real-world agricultural companies that operate under that exact SIC code.
So what does this all mean? I'm a high school student, and
Yeah.
my homework assignment culminates in building and selling specialized agricultural logistics software to real corporations.
That is exactly what it means.
But the framework gets even more physical than that, because farming isn't just software. It requires physical labor and tools. Enter the third AI branch, Manufacture AI.
Manufacture AI is the bridge between the digital code and the physical dirt. For your pea farming project, Manufacture AI will calculate the hyper-specific soil requirements and environmental conditions needed for your region.
Okay.
But here is the truly revolutionary mechanism. It will design custom digital avatars for you, and it will generate video guides showing those virtual avatars operating 3D printers.
Wait, I need to push back on the logistics of this again. It's one thing to watch a video of an avatar using a 3D printer. It's another thing entirely for a kid to actually get their hands on the tools. How does a software platform manufacture physical farming tools for a student?
The framework envisions Manufacture AI not just as a video generator, but as a system that provides the actual CAD files and manufacturing blueprints. The vision relies on the increasing democratization of manufacturing, whether that means the student has a consumer-grade 3D printer at home, or they take the AI-generated files to a local community makerspace or a school fabrication lab.
Oh, I see.
The AI provides the exact schematic needed to manufacture the physical farming tools like a specialized trowel or an irrigation valve required to cultivate those peas.
I cannot get over the comprehensiveness of this.
Yeah.
It is like having a magical virtual agricultural extension office living inside your laptop.
It really is.
It teaches you the philosophy of objective reality. It uses government data to teach you the theory of peas. It programs a business bot to sell your pea logistics software. And then it literally hands you the digital blueprints to 3D print the trowel you need to go out into the dirt and plant the seeds yourself. It turns every single learner into a fully equipped, full-scale industrialist.
It systematically removes every possible barrier, educational, logistical, and technical, between a student's ambition and their ability to execute that ambition in the real world.
And as if that level of empowerment wasn't enough positive reinforcement, we have to talk about the final AI personality, music AI. Because this might be the most profoundly joyful human detail in the entire framework.
The music AI serves a purely psychological and emotional function. It exists to celebrate human achievement within the platform.
I love this.
The documentation states that if a student wins a course ranking, if they top the multi-level leaderboards for those daily DocuLigas or file analysis games, Music AI generates a custom, personalized musical anthem just for them.
A custom AI-generated symphony to celebrate the fact that you did your homework exceptionally well.
Yes, and it ties beautifully back into the biodiversity project as well. If you're one of those field researchers we talked about earlier who hikes out into an unpopulated county and successfully discovers a new patentable species of medicinal plant, Music AI is programmed to compose a grand, triumphant anthem specifically to celebrate that newly discovered species and your role in finding it.
I'm just trying to imagine the sheer dopamine hit of that experience.
Right.
You are sitting at your desk. You've successfully used Husserl's phenomenological method to view the world clearly. You've used your newly invented mathematical tools to measure your local environment. Your Agentic AI has just optimized your pea production software. Your local 3D printer just finished fabricating your custom farming tools. And suddenly, a soaring, personalized symphony starts playing through your speakers to celebrate your victory.
It creates the ultimate positive reinforcement loop. It is a system designed from its very foundation to make the human being feel capable, celebrated, and absolutely essential to the future of the planet. It uses the cold efficiency of artificial intelligence to generate profound emotional warmth and motivation.
It is a stunning harmony of advanced technology, rigorous philosophy, and practical real-world action. Which brings us to our final thoughts as we wrap up this massive deep dive.
When you synthesize all of these elements, the objectivist philosophy, the aid-to-industry structure, the gamified biodiversity exploration, and the AI support ecosystem, what emerges is a vision that aggressively refuses to accept that humanity's best days are behind us.
Absolutely.
The universal system of knowledge created by Jesus Gonzalez Bedoya is a proactive, radically empowering framework. It envisions protecting us from digital inequality, not by trying to halt the robotic revolution, but by giving every single person on Earth the ultimate set of tools to master it.
It takes the narrative of doom and completely rewrites it. It envisions turning us from passive, anxious consumers of algorithmic content into philosophically grounded inventors.
Yes.
It sees us as eager explorers of the natural world and confident, capable builders of our own industries. It takes the massive, intimidating raw data of global governments and simply says, here, this is yours. Let's build a better world with it.
The overarching lesson of the framework is that knowledge, no matter how complex or technical, isn't something to be feared, and it isn't something to be hoarded by a technological elite. It is something to be joyfully engaged with by everyone.
I want you, the listener, to think about your own educational journey for a second. Think about the specific subjects that have intimidated you in the past. The subjects that made you feel like you just weren't smart enough.
We all have them.
Right. How much more excited would you be to tackle a difficult subject like calculus or coding or biology if you viewed it not as a massive pre-existing wall you had to climb over, but simply as a tool that you personally get to invent, manufacture, and wield?
If you can train yourself to see reality clearly without the prejudice of your past failures or societal narratives, you realize that the tools to change the world are literally waiting in your hands.
Exactly. The universe is not a closed book. It's an unpopulated map waiting for you to catalog it. So as we leave you today, I want you to think about that digital universe merging with your physical one. What unpopulated area of your own curiosity is just waiting for you to send an exploratory expedition?
And what kind of grand, triumphant anthem would you want an AI to write to celebrate your discoveries?
That is a wonderful, empowering question to ponder. Keep inventing your tools. Keep exploring the unpopulated counties of your own potential, and never stop looking for the vibrant, objective colors of the world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.